Hello, I'm Pawel Wrzeszcz. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm really excited to share with you a story, an experience report from a company that decided to go with totally flat structure. So no managers, and to make this happen, you need full transparency. That includes financial transparency, open salaries. Just to give you a little bit of the context, we kind of transformed from somehow hierarchical structure to this approach more than a year ago. Let's first talk about why we decided to go that way. We were operating on a kind of hierarchical way, kind of having 4 members of the board and the rest, okay? And at some point, we discovered, together with my 3 friends who were managing the company, that we are kind of getting the bottleneck. We are becoming a bottleneck. We need to be engaged in every project we have. Anytime a customer comes, it's us who need to take care about this customer. And even if we hire people who kind of do the job, anytime there is something that needs to get fixed or some difficult conversation with the customer, it's us who need to go to this customer. And that was really hurting us, because at some point we had situations when we had difficult conversations with clients without knowledge of the context, because we weren't part of the team. We were just, managers. So kind of 2 ways that we were thinking about was one classical path, right? Hire people who will do that for us. Like hire second level of management. We will be at the top, there will be some managers, great. And they will have a bit more knowledge about how company operates. And then at the very lowest level, they will be programmers. Of course, we didn't want to go that way, and that's why we decided to do kind of an experiment with flat structure. So that was one of the reasons. As we also kind of really started feeling this in the air, that it's kind of us versus them. Like people asking for more and more benefits, because they didn't know what's the financial situation in our company, and we didn't really want to have that. So, how we did that? The most difficult topic was definitely money, okay? And we had this, we went through a number of difficult conversations. I'll tell you how it looked like. It wasn't easy for us, just to make this clear. It wasn't something that, that's just, okay, great, and everything was fine. The most important thing I think that we did is step 1 here. I'll be covering kind of 3 steps how we opened our salaries. The story begins last June 2013, when we had a company meeting sharing the whole idea of how are we going to operate with everyone in the company. And at that point, we kind of made the first step, okay? So we made the first step, and the first step from the management board was, okay, look, here are the figures how company operates, right? So we're making all the financial data, how the company operates, transparent for you. I think some companies, some large companies even have to publish such data. We didn't have to, except salaries, because we know that's a tough subject. So that was kind of our first step, and I remember that was some fantastic moment for me during this meeting. That what we said was, okay, guys, you now kind of own this company, and how are we going to approach the subject of salaries, which will be difficult. And what our people said at this stage right? So they knew how are we earning on average month, how much are we charging our customers, what's the average salary in the company, but they didn't know each other salaries. They said, look guys, if we open this Pandora box today, we will not focus on how to build self-organizing company. And we postpone it. So that might be kind of one of the learnings for you. No matter what kind of change are you going to introduce, is to have patience and maybe make a first step, but don't do everything at once. So we postponed opening the salaries, and that was our first step. Of course, after some time, that started hurting us. And the way it started hurting us was we were hiring new people. We were discussing how much we can pay them, but we didn't know actually what are the people didn't know what are the rights, what were the rights inside the company. And at that point, I remember my friend coming, and it was like, well, we work remotely, but it was still, you could feel the emotions there. It's like, okay, I have enough of these conversations. I'm just going to do it. I like to think about it and just do it. I'm opening salaries, I'm making everything transparent. In 2 days, if someone does not like the idea, talk to me on private. Otherwise, I'm just going to do it. And I think that was kind of very important that we had some time afterwards we kind of grew to this point, okay, we have to do that. And it wasn't an easy step for us because, maybe I should point out here, we had huge differences, maybe not huge, but large differences between salaries for people on the same seniority level. And so that was hard. You know what happened after this step? First, there was a period of silence. Nothing. And afterwards, there was a thunderstorm. So it was like coming to work and lots of discussions. We had a Skype chat with everyone on kind of, software mill management, and everyone could have their voice, and that was really tough. We had like a month of time when we really struggled on how are we going to talk about this subject. That wasn't easy, but it was worth it. I'll talk about it later. Basically, at some point, again, this required a bit of leadership from us, as an old management board. We decided, all right, let's stop these pointless discussions, because the discussions were, of course, I should earn more, or let's don't jump into this subject. It was basically kind of we didn't have really good way to kind of come up with reasonable idea, and one of the reasons was that we are trying to discuss it all together, like 20 people. So what we did, we had a small work group that figured out that we're discussing, like 5 people, and came up with a very simple solution, which was we have our salaries based on the seniority level. So the longer you are at software mill, the more you earn. Simple like that. But the biggest challenge for us was that we couldn't afford, to give everyone a raise to this level. And yeah, that was tough, but we ended up with kind of everyone having 2 salaries, one kind of destination salary and the current salary. And well, for me, it's a very, that was also for me another moment in our history, in the story for me it was really nice that we kind of designed it in a way that everyone's focus is on increasing income, because the algorithm we have, I'm not going to go into the details, ask me after the sessions, but basically the algorithm we have, every person in our company has a kind of destination salary they should have, right? And we want to get there. But And anytime there is enough money, there is enough income, and we see that on average in the next few months there will be enough revenue to cover pay rise, the people who are in the biggest need defined by the biggest difference and the longest time not getting the raise, they get the raise. And that worked really in a magical way because people started thinking about how are we going to increase the income. And it stopped all those pointless discussions. Looking at the steps and kind of remembering what Stephen said during the keynote, you could also think about it that kind of the second step was courage. The first step was about patience. It was about patience. We need to wait a bit. The second step was about courage, and again, to kind of figure out the third approach was again about the patience. And well, for me, it's kind of obvious that it was worth it, even though we really had a number of difficult conversations. We gained much more. We now have much more, open environment, which when it's better relationships, and even kind of from the business perspective, it's this focus on the revenue that's kind of nice because it's no longer this us versus them.
But do you also disclose your salaries as management?
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, everyone disclosed this their salaries, right? So the question was whether the management board also made their salaries transparent. Yeah, for sure. So that's very short our story.
You said first step was about patience, second about the courage, and what's
patience. Again, it was a patience. It was to kind of get down to this systematic approach. It took us a while. It wasn't like it's not the click of the finger. It took us quite a couple of months. So this kind of approach towards money was one of the decisions that we had to make. And I'm going to share with you, in general, our experience with making decisions. As you may guess, 20 people making decisions, it's not an easy task. Let's start with just a simple decision, okay? So can I buy a keyboard? It will be kind of again about what Stephen was saying, is whether whether in a company, if something is not forbidden, you can do it, or whether you have to ask for permission. I like to think about it whether it's pessimistic, optimistic locking. But the story is, it will be again kind of our 3 steps towards decision making. Is that even with a small decision at the very beginning, we didn't have any approach. How are we going to make such decisions? That's also an important thing. We as a management board didn't come with any way to start with making decisions. We said to people, you go figure out how are we going to make decisions. And what we ended up at first, what we had at first was anytime someone wanted to make a decision, they started asking everyone. Actually, frankly, during the first phase, when we said that we are now flat structure, no managers, people were still coming to the management board. Okay, so I would say that was the phase 0. They were still asking me or my friend, can I buy a keyboard, okay, or can I buy a computer? But what we are saying, oh well, we have now a different approach. Go figure out. So well, what people were doing, they at first they were trying to ask everyone. Of course, it didn't work, right? That was, but I know. Well, we have to go through this painful scenario. After we of course we quickly figure out that didn't work because I think that there was one situation at our company when we almost had a decision, and then someone after an hour ago came back from lunch. And after lunch, they started talking about it again. And you know, that was a small thing, like could be a keyboard or could be like the color of Macs, of company Macs that we want to produce. So I kind of came up with a different approach. You guys, you know, everyone is a CEO. Hey, you can just make decisions. Don't ask anyone. But the reality was, it sounded nice. At least it sounded to me nice because it was my idea. But people in practice were reluctant to make even small decisions, and especially financial decisions. It didn't work out at all. What we have now, and what works fine, is I like to call it for your information pattern. Okay, so at least for not very small decisions meaning that someone needs equipment or license for them. What we do, we kind of build a culture that also took us some time. We build a culture to just say, I'm going to do this and that, and if you don't like it or if you have some really good advice, ping me on private. Ping me on private, it's also important here because we no longer have kind of everyone involved company's Skype chat. There is just announcements, and there are like 10 announcements a day, announcements like this one. And this kind of discourages people to get into discussions unless they have something really valuable to say. And by the way, meanwhile, we kind of banned giving good advice, except if someone asks for advice. Okay, so if you want, the rule is that if you want to give a good advice, you have to kind of also do something about it. So if you, let's say, don't like the color of the website, and if you want to give a good advice, I would like it to be orange. That means that you also that also means commitment. That you're going to help to make this website green. But that was about kind of small decisions, right? Or decisions on a personal level, maybe on a team level. Now, for decisions like a company-wide decisions, a good example might be this salaries system that we have, or whether we are going to kind of engage in a partner in an important partnership or something like that. For such decisions, well, you can't have this for your information pattern. And also took us quite a while to figure out how are we going to do that. As it was with the keyboard, we at the very beginning we were kind of trying to have an approach where everyone can have their voice and so on. Meanwhile, we kind of banned this good advice. And at the end, what we have is I like to call it a discuss and vote pattern. It's quite simple, but the thing is that once again we needed some time to emerge, for this pattern to emerge. And anytime there is a decision, it might be about how we're going to handle the salary issues, or might be about hiring. We also have a small group of people that kind of take care of hiring, finding new people, and then you need at the end of the day you need a decision whether we are going to hire them or not. Or might be something else, like we have a company meetings and someone thinks that they are boring, and they also call a small group. What's important there is that there is a small group that's focused on one goal. Anyone can join, but you can only join if you're going to contribute. Okay, so no joining and saying, I know this won't work, or something like that. If you're joining this small work group, you really need to get engaged in the process. And this small group comes with a proposal for the whole company. I think what's important here is that we kind of need some way of communication to come up with a proposal, but also to have this security for the whole company, for people who are not engaged in this small group, that they will have their say. Okay, so at the end of the day, there is voting. And just to give you a couple of examples, it might be that someone is working on a deal with a new customer. That's kind of middle-side decision, middle-sized decision to make. Like, are we going to work with this customer? Can we handle that? What rates are we going? What rates will we have? Who will work on this project? So, what the whole process in our company is. Anyone that can be interested in working with this customer, please join the small group, and we will figure out how to handle this. Or, as I already mentioned, this proposal with salaries. Hiring looks like this: that there is a small group of people who take care of hiring, and the announcement is we're going to hire this guy. And well, if you need some details, you can talk with us, but. Basically here, it's kind of for your information pattern. What's still something that we don't know is how to how to kind of let it go without any engagement from the old members of the board. We had to, a number of times, we had to, someone from the old management board had to come and help the group to self-organize, right? So, especially during this the opening salaries process, or kind of figuring out how are we going to make decisions, frankly, we needed some leadership. Someone had to come and help the whole group to figure out how to handle this problem. It's getting better and better. It would probably, well, I believe in self-organization, so they would probably figure out themselves, but it would take them longer time. Just to quickly recap, money. The way we did that, we postponed it. That worked for us. Again, remember Steven, that worked for us. Maybe it will work for you, maybe it not. Then it was a courage to just open it. It wasn't easy, but now we had kind of an algorithm to figure it out. And with the decision making, we also worked hard to kind of build a culture of this for your information and small groups. And as I said, it's all, actually, if you think about kind of the values, it's all about patience, courage, and trust. It requires trust to build a flat organization, and it builds trust. It kind of works that way. And that's all I have. Thank you very much.